In this episode, I want to take a look at Blitz.js, which is a full-stack React framework. And what makes it full stack is its ability to talk to the databases, because it already has a zero API data layer, which means that you don't have to connect your Next.js application to your API like we did in the Next.js series where we connected to Strapi, but you have your database already built into your application. It's built on Next.js, that's why I said like Next.js. It's built on Next.js, so pretty much everything you can do in Next.js you can do in Blitz.js, but it also has some sugar on top, and it has that very nice ability to have the database right in your application, so you don't have to connect to any API. And this is going to actually be the focus of this video, because I want to go through the tutorial on the documentation and talk a little bit about that database feature that you get with Blitz.js. Blitz.js is actually in development right now, so it's in alpha. It's not ready for production just yet, but once it is, I think it's going to be a very nice project. So let's just quickly take a look at the Blitz.js homepage. So it's full stack React framework. As we said, it has a zero API data layer. It's built on Next.js, which is very nice, and it's inspired by Ruby on Rails. So the API is not required because you talk to the database directly. It's full stack and monolithic. It has loose opinions. The stability, once it reaches version 1.0, it's going to have LTS releases, beta releases, and so on. One more nice thing right here is that it has authentication built in. As you will see when we install our first Blitzjs app, it is already going to have users, it is going to have a login page, sign up page, and so on. It is database agnostic. We are going to use SQLite in this video, but you can also use Postgres SQL. As I seen in the documentation, they didn't mention any other databases, so I hope that they support something like MySQL, but it just isn't written in the docs. It has code installer recipes, plugins that are coming soon. It natively supports TypeScript, and it also has code scaffolding, as you will see in this video. Once you run Blitz generate, it is going to scaffold your models. So it's going to create your new page, your edit page, your index page. It's going to create your delete functions, create functions, and so on. So it's going to do a lot of heavy lifting for you, and then you just need to configure it to suit your needs. And that's about it. So that's a quick introduction into Blitz. As I said, in this video, we're just going to focus on that database part of it, and we are going to go through this tutorial right here. So I'm not creating anything from my head. We're just going to go through this tutorial, and I'm just going to explain some things as we go along. Okay, so let's install Blitz, and you do that by npm install -g blitz. We are going to install it globally. I already have it installed, so I'm not going to run this command, but you just run this command and it's going to install Blitz globally so that you can create your new application. Also keep in mind, for this to work, you need to be using at least Node.js 12.0. So you run this command, and after that, once you run it, once the Blitz is installed, you want to create your new application. To do that, you do Blitz, new Blitz app, for example. Blitz app is just the name of the directory that this is going to be installed, and also the name of your application. So we are just going to call it Blitz app. And now it's going to ask you which form library do you want to use. So you can use a React final form, you can use React hook form, or Formic. I think the Formic is the most popular, so we are going to use that. And that's about it. Now you just wait for the application to set itself up. Okay, now once this is done, we just cd into Blitz app and we run blitz start. And this is going to start our development server. The server is going to be on localhost 3000. So let's go there. Okay, so now we are on the front page of our Blitz application. This is just a page that Blitz provides for you out of the box. You can of course delete it and replace it with your own data. As you can see right here, which is very nice, you already have this sign up, so I can sign up for the application. I can enter a password and create an account. Now I'm logged in. If I log out, I can log in again with my info. Great. So as you can see, I'm an user ID with the user role of user. Okay. So this works. Let's check it out how it looks in the code. So let's open up our code editor. So let's first of all just take a look at the directory structure of Blitz.js app. You have app folder, which contains auth, components, hooks, layouts, pages, and so on. This is very similar to Next.js. Blitz.js routing is file-based, so just like in Next.js, if you want to create a new page, you just add a new page right here. Also, you have this users with the queries, so get current user. You have DB, and in the DB we have this schema.prisma, and as you can see, we already have two models right here, so user and session. So these are already created models. Then you have integrations, public, you would put all your public files in here. You have your test folder and your utils folder for your utilities. You also have blitz.config.js, which extends next.config.js file. So if you want to do some advanced Blitz.js configuration, you can just do it right here. And that's about it. So the next thing that we want to do, we want to follow the tutorial on the docs page for Blitz.js, and we want to create two models, which are going to be question and the choice. We are going to create something similar to a poll. So you are going to have a question and you are going to have choices for those questions, and then you can vote on those choices, as you will see. It's pretty easy to understand, and this tutorial is not going to be hard at all. Okay, so how do we create a model for our app? Well, you can just go to DB and go to schema.prisma and create that model right here, and then you can go to your app, create that model here, and so on. However, we are not going to be doing it that way because Blitz has a great command called Blitzgenerate, and when you do Blitzgenerate all, for example, it's going to create everything for you, including those models and so on. This is taken from Ruby on Rails and something like Laravel, and even something like October CMS, because we are going to have migrations inside our JS app, which is pretty great. So let's open up our console. I'm going to open it here. Okay, so now I'm just going to go to cd blitz app, and here you're going to do Blitzgenerate. And I want to generate all. So we want to generate pages, functions, everything we need for it. And we want to generate a model called question, right? And that model question is going to have a field called text, and it's going to have a relation to our choices model, which we're also going to generate, and it's going to have many choices. So every question is going to have a few choices. Okay, so we can create that, and also Blitz is going to automatically generate for us updated add field, created add field, and ID field, which is going to be auto incremented. So when we click this, as you can see, Blitz created for us model of question with the ID of integer, created add, updated add, and text is just string. And then it's going to have some choices which we still haven't created. But also take a look at this. It also created for us questions, pages, question ID. So it's created an edit page for us. It's created a singular page for our question. It's created an index page, new. It created question forms, set questions, get questions, create questions, delete questions, and update questions functions, right? So that you have everything already set up so that you can work with your model. And if we go to our code editor, as you can see, we have questions right here in our app, but also if we go to the DB and schema.prisma, as you can see, we now have this model question. Okay, so let's create another model, and this model is going to be choice. So every question is going to have a few choices from which you can select from. So we can do something like Blitz generate resource. Now we are not doing all, we are doing resource because we don't need all of those pages for our answers, for our choices, right? Because we are going to create those choices through our question, new question update, and so on. So we get Blitz generate resource. The resource is going to be called choice, or our model is going to be called choice. It's going to have a text field, and it's also going to have a votes field, which is going to be an integer, and default is going to be 0. And also it has a relation to our question model, so belongs to question. So we click this and create our new model. Okay, so as you can see, it created our choice model, but it also says please run db migrate to add this model to your database. So for now, we just created a migration for our database, but our database is still not filled in with those fields. So to fill it in with those fields, we just do blitz db migrate. And it's going to ask you a name of your migration. I'm just going to call it db init. Okay, great. So now we're done with our migration. One more nice tool that Blitz has, which also something like Laravel has, I think it's called Artisan. It has a console. So Blitz has its own console, and you access it by doing Blitz console. And now with this Blitz console, we can play around with our database. For example, let's see if we have any questions. So to do that, you just do await db.questions, question, and we say find many. So this is a Prisma code, right? Prisma 2 code. As you can see, we get an empty array. Okay, so let's create a question. So to create a question, you just do let q equals await, and then you do db.question.create, and we want to create a question with some data. So data, as you may remember, in our question we only have one field that is fillable, others are created add, updated add, and so on, and that field is called text. So text, and we are going to add a question right here. For example, what's new, right? And you just press enter. It says undefined, but if you want to see that object, you can just do q. Because we set the q variable to be this item in our database. So if I just do q, I get the ID of 1, created add, updated add, and the text field is what's new. Great. Now, if we want to access individual parts of this, we can just do something like q.id or q.text, and so on. Q created that, Q updated that, and so on. Okay, so that is the way you would do that. You can also update your question. So you can do Q is equal await, and we want to do db question update, So we want to change the text of our question, and update is going to say where id is equal to 1. So we want to target this right here. So this object with the id of 1. And then we want to add some new data. So data is going to be text again, and it's going to say, instead of what's new, is going to say what's up. Okay, so we had a syntax error. I forgot to put a curly brace right here. Okay, so now as you can see, we have still an object with the id of 1 because we just updated it, and then we have this text called what's up. Okay, great. So this is the way you would use the console to query your data, to play around with it, and so on. So to exit from this, you just do .exit. And that's about it. So next thing we want to do is we actually want to see how this works inside of our application. As I said before, Blitz already created pretty much everything for us. So we have components in our questions, mutations, we have pages. So we have question ID, page, edit. So this is going to be question with the ID. So question /1/edit is going to allow us to edit our question. Then we have question id.tx. This is just going to be a singular question. Then we have index, which is going to list all of our questions. And then we have a new page on which we can create new questions. Also, we have queries, get questions, and get question and get questions. And that's about it. So in mutations, you of course have create question, delete question, and update question. So everything is set up for you and your model. Now, if we go to our app and we go to question, actually questions, you will see that we get an error right here, cannot read properly defined menu of undefined, because we need to restart our app. So let's do that. So we go here, turn off our server and start it again. So once our server is restarted and you go to questions, you will be greeted by this kind of page. Now, as you can see, there's something wrong with this. We have something here, but it's not displaying anything. So for unknown reasons to me, and this actually says in the documentation, the fields and actually whatever is generated on your page is not going to be using the fields that you defined in your migration for some reason, but this is going to be fixed at some point. So for now, as you can see, we go to questions, and when we go to questions, we actually go right here. So on our pages, on our index.tsx file. So this is our index page, which is going to list all of our questions. As you can see, it already has pagination for you covered. And now this is not displaying anything because, as you can see right here, it says question.name instead of question.text that we defined in our migration. So to fix that, you just do text. Okay, save it, check it out in the browser. And as you can see, we get the question of what's up, which we created via our console. So if I click on what's up, I'm going to get to the question 1, right? Question 1. I can edit it. If I click edit, this is what I was talking about before. So if I want to edit it, I'm going to go to the route questions 1 edit. If I want to delete it, I will just click this right here. I can, of course, delete it right away, but we need to make a small adjustment also to our delete function, because if I delete this right now, it doesn't have any choices, but let's say it has 5 choices that you can answer this question with. It's not going to delete those choices. So we are just going to go to our code editor. We are going to go to mutations and delete question.ts. And then right here, I'm just going to put this in. Await db.choice, delete many, where question ID is this question that we are deleting. So now when we delete a question, it's also going to delete all of the questions from all of the choices from our database. Okay, let's save this. Let's try to delete this item that we have in our database. So if I go to questions again, I click on what's up, I can just click delete. Is going to say this will be deleted. You click OK, and that's about it. Now we have no more questions. Now let's try to create a question. So if I click on create question, it's going to just say submit. Let's just do this submit. If I do it, as you can see, we get an error, creating question, status code 500. Now, why is this? Well, let's take a look at our new.ts file. So if we go to new.tsx, what we are going to see is something like this. So it says, when you click submit, wait, create question mutation. So this is our mutation for creating a question. And the data is going to be name, my name, right? So of course that sucks because we don't have a field called name. So we are just going to say text right here, and it's going to say my new question. Save it, go to our browser and try this again. So if I now click submit, it says success, it's created a new question. And if we go to questions, as you can see, we now have my new question. Okay, this is all hard coded in, and we of course don't want to do it that way. So now we are going to create a form which is going to allow us to create our questions for them not to be hard-coded, and also allow us to create choices. So if we now go into our components, as you can see, we already have a question form, which is called right here. So if I go to question form, here, where it says put your fields here, we are just going to put 4 fields right here. So those fields are going to be called name. Actually, they're going to have a placeholder of name, choice 1, choice 2, and choice 3. Okay, great. So save this. And now in our new.tsx file, what we want to do is we want to replace this right here. So where we hard code our data and send it, we want to replace it with something like this. And also you have to pass in event. Okay, so what we are saying right here, take the data from our form. The text is going to be event target 0 with value. The choices are going to be also from event target 1, 2, and 3, right? This is not the best way to create form. You should add names to your form, and then you can, instead of doing target 1, target 2, target 3, you just add the name of those fields. But for now, this is going to work for us. So the text is target 0, choice 1 is target 1, target 2, and target 3. Okay, so if I save this right now and go to our browser and want to create a new question, now we have name, choice 1, choice 2, and choice 3. So we can do something like, how are you? And the choice 1 is going to be good, choice 2 is going to be neutral, and choice 3 is going to be bad. And we submit this. Okay, it was successful. Click OK. Now this is our question number 3. If we go to questions, we now have this question called how are you? If you go to that question, you get to this page. Okay, now we created our questions. We now want to allow users to vote for those questions. actually to vote for the choices on your specific question. Now, first of all, we want to list the questions. Actually, we want to list the choices below every question so that the user can vote for it. Now, if we go to our code editor, we can't list them just yet because we don't have access to the choices. And we don't have access to the choices because in our queries, get question TS and get questions TS, we need to define something. So in here, we need to define where. So find first, and we want to include our choices right here. So we do include. Very simple. So include choices is true. And we also must do the same thing for get questions TS. Well, not exactly the same thing, but we would go right here where we have find many. And after skip, we just do the same thing. Include choices true. Okay. And that's it. Save this. Now we need to list our choices. So how do we list those choices? Well, actually very easily. So we are just going to go to our index.txt file, and right here below this link, because our choices are going to be another indented unordered list, we just do something like this. Okay, and now we have an UL tag, and then we go through question.choices.map because we added those choices inside of our questions. We are including them, so we can easily map through them and display them on the page. So if I save this, go to my browser, refresh this. I don't know why it showed that error. It probably didn't refresh right away. So now we have how are you, which we created, and then we have good, neutral, and bad, and it has everything has 0 votes. Okay, so now we are displaying our questions. Next thing we need to do, we need to add a vote button and allow users to vote for those choices to that question. Okay, so now I want to go to this question right here, which we created. How are you? And instead of this question number 3, what I want to do is I want to go, so this opens up question id.tsx file. So instead of question id, I want to do question.text. Also, I'm going to delete this pre. So if we go to our browser, now question is how are you? Now we want to list our questions. And to do that, we just do another UL right here below this. So UL question choices map, and we want to list our choices actually, not our questions. I'm going to delete this for now. Okay, save it. And now if we take a look, we have a question of how are you, good, neutral, bad, and we have this vote button which I added. So this is very similar to what we did on index. I just added this button with vote. So the next thing that we need to do, we need to go to our question id tsx file and import update choice from choices mutations. So we do update choice from app choices mutations update choice. After that, we need to add a use mutation hook right here. So that is going to update our choice mutation. And then we want to do a handle vote. So we are going to create a function called handle vote. So when somebody clicks on our button, it's going to call that handle vote function, and that handle vote function is going to update our mutation. It's going to find the choice ID, and then for the data in the votes, it's going to say votes plus 1. So we are going to add 1 to our votes. Next is going to alert us of success, catch an error, and so on. So we are handling that. And now only thing that we need, because of course this is not going to work just yet. We need to put an on-click handler onto our button, like this. And that's about it. Save it. Let's go to the browser and test it out. So I'm just going to refresh this just to be sure and click vote. And it says success. Okay. Vote. Okay. Vote. Okay. As you can see, we are getting those votes right here and we are feeling good about it. Now, if we go to our questions, you can see that the good has 5 votes, neutral 1 vote, bad 1 vote, and so on. Okay, so this has been it for this video. As I said, the focus of this video was just to get acquainted with those database functions that you get with Blitz.js. I also said before that a lot of stuff in Blitzjs is very similar to Next.js because it's built upon it. So please take a look at the documentation. Don't create any production sites just yet until Blitzjs is in version 1.0. And I think this is a very nice project to keep an eye on. I'm sure I'm going to keep an eye on it because I can't wait to use something like this in production. As I said before, you don't need an API, you don't need 2 apps like we did in Next.js and Strappy, you don't need 2 apps to deploy to a server, to maintain them and so on. You just have 1 app, that app does everything for you, and that's great. So everything we did here will actually be not be available for you on GitHub, but it will be available for you on the Blitzjs site. I'm going to link to the tutorial in the description below. And as always, thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in the next one.